I'm getting pumped up just talking about it.
I can feel it, okay?
Oh my gosh, I got so excited just talking about that.
I'm gonna need to calm down. I need to take some deep breaths.
You mean that we're not gonna have any work? No, we want to see everything. This is the one conference where they get to thrive and shine and be.
We hear conference, we think it's gonna be big lights and a big stage, and I'm gonna get some fancy coffee. But truthfully, if I use that time, I can get more out of it.
Hop on the front door, it's like midnight. Don't lose your grip, cause you might fall out again.
So this conference is going to be huge because it's the one conference of the year where it's just indie dealers. You know, like there's so many conferences, Phillip, in automotive, but this is the one time where it's just about the indies.
Yeah.
It's like made for them. And they're, you know, at most conferences, they kind of feel like the left out ones, the ones that are not really talked about. But this is the one conference where they get to thrive and shine and be the spotlight.
Yeah, I don't want to call them underdogs, but it's always cool when you get a chance to do things with people that focus on what you focus on. So if we're looking at this, how can we help them, right? You have tons of this experience going to these conferences. Like, what are the things they need to be paying attention to, getting into, all of that? I'm so excited to get your perspective on it.
Oh, we're going to get into all of it. But before we do, let's talk about like one thing that we are both excited about leading up into this conference. I'll go first. I am really, really excited because number one, it's the first time that Upstart, we are going to be at this conference.
Yeah.
And we'll have the opportunity to interact with these indie dealers face to face and kind of show them what we got going on. But I'm also really excited about the fact that they have a lot of amazing sessions and panels about a bunch of different things. There's going to be a segment talking about women in automotive, DEI, and all these things. So I just feel like it's going to be an amazing time. What are you most excited about?
I'm excited to actually get to connect with some of these independent dealerships, find out what their pain points are, see where they need help solving things, right? Being able to interact with them and understand all of those pieces is going to bolden or expand my knowledge base. And I also came from an independent dealership, right? When I sold, that's what I was. So whether it's finding a DMS that works best for me or finding a CRM or looking at what my finance options are, right? We don't have access to captive lenders as an independent. So looking at where we can find money sources to sell more cars is probably the number one thing I'm excited to see when I'm there.
Yeah, I also love the fact that like in this conference, all of the vendors and everybody there is going to be geared towards the independent and going to be able to give them the tools and things that they need to be successful, because so oftentimes most of these companies are geared towards the big OEM dealerships, right? And it's like it's not made for them. So it'll be really, really interesting to see what type of vendors are going to be at this event as well.
Yeah. I think the vendor space is huge. Getting to see that booth, finding out these specific solutions and tailoring it to your approach, whatever that is for the cars that you're selling, is going to be awesome.
Yes. Now, as far as like the dealers who are going to be headed to this conference, maybe we should talk about like what they should be doing to prepare to going to a conference like this.
Yeah. I can tell you one of the biggest things that I experienced when I was selling was trying to make sure that my software suite matched the customers I was selling to and the vehicles that I was selling.
Okay.
Right? So can my DMS track the information appropriately? Identify as an independent dealer what your pain points are right now. You know, if it is truly I don't have enough banks to finance loans, or maybe it is that my service software is too advanced for the kind of vehicles that I'm serving, or it doesn't actually measure up to what I need. So before you go, do a little internal research. Find out the things that you've been hearing from the people who handle your accounting all year, or from the salespeople, what their gripes are. And then if you're the general manager of this dealership or the general sales manager or whomever, take that with you and have a targeted list of what you would look for when you're doing that process, right? I think that that's one of the things that we hear conference, we think it's going to be big lights and a big stage and I'm going to get some fancy coffee. But truthfully, if I use that time intelligently, I can get more out of it from my dealership.
No, I love that. I think that dealers need to maximize their times at these conferences. Like you said, do an audit, number one, of all the systems that they have. Look at what's working well for you, what's not working well, make a list of everything. Because when you get there, there's going to be a big expo floor. There's going to be all these different companies that do these things. You have to be strategic about where you're going and how to maximize your time while you're there. Because you're going to have these great sessions you want to go to, but in between, you're going to want to maximize and go to the right people to get what you're looking for too.
Yeah.
So that's going to be really, really important. And another advice that I like to give dealers in anticipation for a conference is see if the conference has an app or a Facebook group or a LinkedIn group that you can go and actually connect with a lot of the other dealers that are going to be at that conference, so you can go and already have some friends going into it.
Yeah.
Or some people that maybe if you admired their dealership or things that they do, maybe say, hey, we'd like to meet up for coffee in the morning before the events, or, go to a session together. Like, there's so many cool ways to network leading into these events.
Yeah. One of the things that I've noticed is there are so many outbound sales calls, right, from a vendor to a dealer. It's like, hey, come see my booth, come by and get a luggage tag, like all that stuff, right? And I think that that's great, right? We want to have interest. But if I'm a dealer, right, I can also strategically choose the vendors I want to talk to and get a meeting with them, because they would love to hear that you're interested in their product.
Of course.
And if it's something I've been considering, I'm going to get special treatment. I can probably get a deal, a discount, something like that. So just knowing where you're going could be huge, and actually calling on that person before they call you, I think would be really crazy. Yeah, I have a story, but I'm going to hold it for later.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. I get too long-winded, so yeah, I'm going to stop there. Do some outbound
Hold on
sales.
the story? Okay. Well, I'll say this. Another piece of advice that I like to give dealers that are going to this conference that really want to stand out or, really maximize their time while they're there is make sure that, when you're doing the reaching out to the people, that you are positioning yourself about what's your key thing that you're really good at too. So for example, let's say that you are at an independent dealer and you guys you're specializing in exotics.
Yeah.
And maybe you're the exotic independent, and you want to make sure that you kind of lead with that when you're talking to others. So in case there's another independent that wants to get into that realm, you can kind of be that go-to expert for that. So you can make content around that leading up to the conference. And that's another thing that I would recommend is leading up to the conference, make some posts on LinkedIn and let people know that you're going, so that they know, so that they can meet up with you while you're there. It's going to be really important, right?
Yeah. And I mean, for you, you're obviously the expert in this, connecting with people and branding and looking at those things. So you mentioned the LinkedIn posts, you mentioned being able to reach out to people. Yes. When you're there, is there some kind of information that you recommend them having to give out or to talk about that just makes it stick in the mind of the vendor or stick in the mind of the dealer? What are your tips from all the things that you've seen that you see on site that work well?
Yeah, I feel like LinkedIn is probably the number one asset that dealers are not utilizing to really maximize their time at conferences, because on LinkedIn, there's actually a QR code that's there where they can easily, when you meet somebody, say, oh, let's connect. Boom, you scan the QR code, you're connected, and all of your information is on there. So everything about you, the dealership, yourself is all in there. So that way it's easy. You don't have to do the business card thing anymore. We can just connect on LinkedIn. That's probably the easiest way.
Yeah, I would say that I've seen dealers are very underrepresented on LinkedIn, right? Coming from other industries where everybody is all about it. I feel like sales in general is I'm focused on getting this car into a person's hands. If they could hold it, they'd have really big hands.
Really
but they're
big,
more
really
getting the steering wheel into their hands.
Yes.
But they're not necessarily focused on the LinkedIn aspect, but it comes in huge at conferences like this.
Yes.
So I love that advice about LinkedIn.
Because ultimately, who's going to this conference? Most of the time in a conference like this, it's going to be owners. Because in independence, a lot of times the owner is the GM.
Yep.
It's both. They're owner operator. They're doing both, or the general manager, or maybe it's your finance team. It's rare that at a conference like this, your salespeople will be there. It's going to be mostly senior level management. These are all people that should be on LinkedIn, that should be maximizing leading into this event.
That's awesome. Yeah, I agree with it. I totally co-sign that.
Absolutely. Another thing that we could maybe talk about from an Upstart standpoint, because we're going to be at this event, is why we're so excited to be able to speak to this audience, because we have recently had some success when it comes to independence in getting people approved. So maybe we can talk a little bit about why we're so excited to finally speak to this audience about what is our bread and butter, essentially.
Right. When I sold, we had one bank that we worked with if we weren't taking just cash for a deal, right? And you think about that from the amount of vehicles you want to sell, it's hard, because if that bank denies that one loan, you're toast. They've got to go somewhere else. And even though we were doing exotics, we also had front of line products that were in the mid range. So you're looking at things that aren't necessarily super crazy sports cars, but maybe your Mercedes, BMWs. It's crazy that I'm saying those are not super exotic, but you have like 3 Series, 5 Series, all those things.
Absolutely.
I want to be able to get more done for these customers. And if you have something like Upstart where they give you quick approvals and they're able to go through the process and say, yeah, we can approve somebody in this loan range very easily. They're going to get an email. They'll be able to go through that whole buying process seamlessly. Well, now that's another way that I can sell another car. And if you talk to an independent, every car that they sell is important.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So if I can get another 3 to 5 burning gas this month, sign me up. So I really love where we're positioned in that market and how we're going to talk to them, because you're right. We have had some really good traction, especially with independent dealers, to be able to get more car deals done quickly and maximize their staff while minimizing the time loss. And I think that's a really cool piece that we offer.
Oh, I agree. I feel like there's not going to be another vendor there that kind of offers something similar to what we're doing. So we're going to be uniquely positioned in that way. So when dealers come up and kind of talk to us, like, what do you guys do? What's your stick? And we can kind of speak to the fact that we really help these buyers with thin files, first-time buyers. While we are full spectrum, we kind of have a little range that we work with and we do well with.
Yeah.
And ultimately, we can get more people into vehicles that wouldn't have gotten into vehicles.
Yeah.
And that's probably the most powerful thing, because as an indie dealer, you at times are dealing with people with challenge credit, right? Like that is the nature of sometimes with these independent lots, what they're dealing with on a day-to-day, and their job is so tough, and they have their lenders that they work with, that they go to, but the fact that we don't have any, we are so fast with our funding, we can approve people really quickly.
Minimal steps. We are able to, right? You're going to handle all of your servicing through us down the line. Like it just so easy.
And can we also mention we don't have any look to book? Like you can send us everything.
I think we can, Danielle. I think you should brush your shoulders off, because that is true.
These are some of the things that would be shocking to these indie dealers when they're coming to talk to us. You mean that we're not going to have any look? No, we want to see everything. Give us everything. We do soft pulls. So like these are the things that get me really excited, because it's going to be the first time that we are at a conference like this with an audience like this that can really benefit from what we have to offer. I'm getting pumped up just talking about it.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, I got so excited just talking about that.
I'm gonna need to calm down. I need to take some deep breaths. Danielle, you are hyped about this.
I am hyped about this because finally we're at this event.
Yeah.
And it's like, it feels like the event that was made for us.
It's true.
Do you feel that? This is made for us.
Yeah.
This event.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to be able to help a lot of people and help more people get into vehicles. And we're going to be able to help a lot of these dealers who have been experiencing these pain points forever, right? I sold cars like 8 years ago, and we had those pain points then. They still exist. So it's not like it's gone away. And now we actually have a solution. So it's a really cool thing to think about when you're going around there. Don't forget about the fact that you had a car deal that you thought was going to be ready to go, and then the bank turned you down. When that comes to your mind at this event, think about Upstart, because we can help you with that kind of situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, it just got me so excited thinking about it.
I'm really excited about it. I didn't know if we were out on the tennis court or we were here talking about loans, but
talking
either
about
way,
loans.
Danielle's hyped.
I am hyped about this event, about the people that are going to be at this event, the fact that we're going to have a footprint and a presence at this event.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm excited for the dealers that are going.
Yeah. One thing that I was thinking about is the impact of the current policy and what it has on independent dealers. I think that the cool thing is there's a lot of OEMs that are tied to this increase in pricing for tariffs and everything, but as an independent, you get to price your own vehicles, you get to sell the vehicles how you want, and as long as you have a financing arm for that, you're good to go, right? So when you're looking at going to this conference, really think about that impact and making sure that you've acquired enough financing options for your customers, and considering Upstart is one of those, obviously, because it's going to allow you to do those loans, but really use this economic time that we're in to secure more business for your dealership. And that's something that I think independents should be thinking about on a regular basis, because people are going to get pushed away from an OEM manufacturer. You are then able to shine.
Make sure that, if you're going to this event, you connect with Phillip and I on LinkedIn so we can give you additional tips on things that you can do to really maximize this conference for yourself. But ultimately, I think that we've kind of touched on all of that. So, guys, if you are going to go to this conference, make sure that you just to recap kind of what we talked about, make sure your profile is ready to go so you can network, you can interact with different dealers there, you stop by all the different booths, you do an audit ahead of time of your systems and tools so you know exactly what to get into. And then you stop by our booth so that we can give you all the tips and tricks that you need so that you can get approved.
Yeah, and if all of that sounds good to you, also don't forget that there is this little guy, Joe Theismann, who also won a Super Bowl, just like a little competition. If you get done with our booth early and you want to go see him, right? Formerly a Redskin, now a Commander, maybe, not sure, but that's also there. Tons of cool stuff to check out at NIADA.
You got me excited. If you're excited about this conference, if you're excited about what we've been kind of talking and speaking to, make sure that you like, you subscribe, whether you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or you're watching us on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe and leave us a message and connect with us.
If you've enjoyed this episode, there is so much more for you guys to check out. Coming up next, we're going to dive into EVs, right? And there are so many pieces to this puzzle that we're going to unwrap. Whether it's, are we staying fully electric? Do we have the ability to charge? Is Tesla going to rise or fall? Is my 401k tied to it? All of it's going to be wrapped up, and we're going to discuss it in our next episode.